Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to be going over Bitcoin's price action once again, and since we do have a little bit of information being printed on the shorter time frames, we can now discuss what kind of pattern it may be creating, or at least we can try to validate the structure that we have been discussing since our last analysis. It seems to be going in our favor for the time being, but no real conviction in terms of the actual pattern playing out until we get some more confirmation to the upside. But we are still expecting, or at least I'm still expecting, a possible leading diagonal with the current data given as explained in my previous videos, meaning that we are still moving correctively to the upside before we see a 1-2 pullback of the primary degree in the yellow. And although it may be still too early to call for a diagonal, it is slowly but surely coming to fruition. Now, another important factor is that the only way to possibly count this move into a wave 1 is that you have to first understand that wave 1s are only able to be created as a 5-wave move impulse or a motive pattern in the form of a leading diagonal. And in this case, we have a possible leading contracting diagonal at play as volume is dissipating. So first, let's do a quick recap of what we discussed previously, as I also shared in my members only group on Discord. And if you are interested in joining, by the way, the link is in the description below. We did discuss the play-by-play move up to the current price action that we are at right now. I can't say this is luck, but it was based on a combination of conviction and just being able to identify Bitcoin's price action as a corrective move. We play with whatever Elliott Wave sequence and pattern it provides us until invalidation occurs. And as you can see, we were looking for a WXY on the shorter micro time frames, and we did get that. And there's nothing wrong with having conviction, ladies and gentlemen, nor is there anything wrong with being invalidated for these different types of patterns, especially when volume is really, really low. So we did get that pattern move to the downside as a wave W. And if we zoom in further, this is how we were expecting a possible wave Y in play, because we were expecting this move here as an ABC and this move as an ABC. So that was a 3-3 move, right? Which means that this is a simple zigzag going into wave W, and then we have another ABC or WXY going into wave X, and then we also have another ABC going into wave Y. So that is the 3-wave move in itself to create that move to the downside. Now, what's very important about this is that we did create equality. I always talk about creating equality as kind of the minimum expectation for a corrective move, meaning that you're looking for these partner legs of wave W's or wave Y's, wave W's and Y's, and also wave A's and C's respectively. And you want to be looking for, based on the trend-based Fibonacci extension tool, is that you want to be looking for equality in length. And we did hit that equality in length, and that is why I was expecting reversal to the upside. So if we zoom in a little bit further and see how this is coming to fruition, it does look like it wants to move higher, but correctively still, meaning that we may be creating some kind of ABC into a wave W, and then another ABC to the downside as the wave X, and then we may be working for another ABC to the upside for that subwave 3 that should be coming in the next week or so if this pattern is going to be validated. So for the time being, it does seem like even though Bitcoin is moving correctively, it still wants to move correctively a little bit higher until we get some major rejection at those levels over here. And this is going to be a very subjective zone because a lot of people may be seeing this as the B wave in itself, but I'm going to be discussing why that may be a lower probability. But for the time being, I do expect this coming back into the price territory of wave 1 once we do create that subwave 3 and that subwave 4. More commonly will come back into that territory of wave 1, and we do have a lot of liquidity within these regions, and we should still be expecting that final 5th subwave that should be ultimately creating that contracting look for this leading diagonal, and then we'll be looking for that larger 1-2 pullback. So this is how I'm currently seeing the price action as the highest possibility, but we do have a lot of other possibilities that I am currently monitoring that could be helping us bring us further levels higher if we do, just in case, impulse out of here. And I would be more than happy to go with that idea as well, which is going to be the possible 1-2 idea that has now just already completed. Now, I didn't take the time to count this previously, but I did now, since we do have a possible corrective move that is now completed, which means that this move up here is now completed as a possible wave 1 in itself. Instead of seeing that wave 1 happening later where we see that diagonal, we could be saying that this move up could be the impulse in itself into that wave 1, and this move here, since it is constructed pretty nicely in size and in time for this wave 2, we could be looking for this wave 2 to be completed. Both geometry and in symmetry, it does look very, very nice. So we are now looking for a possible move to the upside as a 5-wave move into that sub wave 3 to the upside, or extended wave 3 rather, to be completing that possible 3, 4, and 5 respectively. That should ultimately break the all-time high, creating that first primary degree of the higher degree, and then we'll see that larger 1-2 pullback happen respectively after that. So this is how another way we can be looking at the possible continuation to the upside in the case we do just break out of these regions for no real reason. We don't know if this is going to be happening, but it is there. So this is the second alternative idea, but who is going to complain about this if you are a bull? And I'm currently a bull right now, so I would be more than happy or content with that happening. But for the time being, since we are trying to be cautious here and risk manage, this idea just seems to be fitting with the current price action and also the behavior, especially that we are working correctively, and we should be expecting corrective moves to follow suit as well. So what if this idea is still too early to call for? Now, we do have the possibility of bearish ideas, right? So that's the only alternative way that we can be looking at this current structure. Now, we originally discussed the possibility of having the C wave of a wave Y, where we haven't completed this ABC to the downside, where this wave Y is possible to complete later and the wave 4 to terminate later instead of having this wave 4 terminate here. But this is looking really unlikely now. I don't see this as a possible diagonal. So in fact, I think we should even just remove this entirely, and that idea should be out. Now, this idea should be monitored by people who are versed in the Elliott Wave Theory. I would expect you to, is that we do have a possibility that this could be the A, B, and then C, where we work for a higher B wave and then we come down for that C wave into that wave Y. Now, I did say that this is lower in probability, and I'll explain why. Now, the reason why I am seeing this possibly low in probability is because we're going to be having a short wave Y compared to this wave W here, right? Now, it's not invalid. We've seen these happen before where we had short wave Ws or short wave Ys or short wave Cs compared to the beginning structure or the partner leg of the wave A or W, meaning that if we do have a long wave A or W, and then we have a wave X, and then we have a short wave Y or C, this is possible. And the reason why I say that is because over here, we were expecting the same thing. And that is the only way to count it right now, even in hindsight, meaning that if you're seeing this as a W, X, and Y, this would be the only way to count it as a 3-wave structure going into a possible move to the upside if we saw that as a corrective structure. Ultimately, we could have also said that this is a 5-wave move going into wave A, triangle for B, and then a short wave C. So as you can see, we had that long wave A or W, and then a short wave C or Y. So that means that this is possible, but for the time being, I am monitoring this, and that is why I do think this idea is still possible. But it reduces in probability because, again, we are still expecting for equality, again, based on a trend-based Fibonacci extension of the 100%, to have at least equality achieved for this wave W. And for this wave Y to be achieved in equality for that wave W, it is going to be breaching this previous high here. So it is quite unlikely, and I am not sure if that's going to be playing out. Again, in hindsight, we might see that happen, and that's why I'm keeping this option open, because we did create that type of price action here, and we've previously created that price action here where we had a long wave A, B wave for triangle, and then a short wave C. So that may be a common characteristic in Bitcoin going forward even, so that's something to keep in mind. And the common, or this would be the least common target, rather. It would be the least common target for this B wave or W wave if we're seeing this wave Y. This 61.8% is the least common target against 100% and 161.8% Fibonacci extension. So again, that is not impossible, but it is less likely for the time being. That's why I'm saying it. Now, another reason why I see this as a possibility of being a lower in probability is because at this point, we might as well be bearish. So people who are expecting wave 4 to terminate here instead of here, I would say at this point that we should be working on the bearish idea. And that would give us a little bit more leeway room to actually even come higher for this wave Y, first of all. And we would have this complete as a wave 2 rather, meaning that this whole move here, although rare, could start to come to fruition, meaning that if we start breaching these levels, I'm going to be starting to think that this is probably the final straw of this range in itself. We are, I think at peak validation for it in terms of time opposed to our wave 2. We are 150 days in, and this should be 150 days in as well from this level to here as well. Yeah, that's about the same. So compared to this range over here where we were trading back before we actually went for that bull market, this should be resolving essentially very soon just based on time alone if we're looking at a 1-on-1 time extension, right? So if that's the case, if we do break it down and further to these levels here, I wouldn't even expect a wave 4 to happen. In fact, this rare expanded leading diagonal would probably come to fruition, like I've said. And instead, this would be going into a wave 1, and this would be the WXY going into wave 2. And we could still essentially see wave Y becoming the higher level that we were expecting as a lower probability, and that wave 2 could complete, and then we could be looking for further downside, and that would ultimately lead us to a possible wave 3 extension of the primary degree to the downside. So that is the bearish idea, ladies and gentlemen. It is still being monitored. I haven't found any real reason to follow that idea for the time being, but for the time being, that is kind of the lowest probability of all. And I have said this looks like a completed ABC or WXY, where we have the wave 4 terminated from this bottom here, and then we could be looking for the shorter time frame of either that leading diagonal going into the subwave 3, and then we have the possibility of that 1-2 being completed if this is going to be extremely bullish. So either way, even for the bearish idea, is that even if we're expecting this move to the downside, we're still looking for higher levels, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we can start confirming what's going to be happening around these regions here, either for that subwave 3 of the leading diagonal or that B wave that we're going to be looking for if we're seeing this move down as an impulse corrective and then impulse down for that wave Y. And if you're seeing this wave 4 terminate lower, at that point, I'm going to be swapping bearish, possibly, most likely, and seeing this as the possible wave 3 where I'm going to be taking opportunities in terms of a short opportunity. So hopefully that was helpful. In terms of the probabilities, I would say the bullish scenario is still remaining around a 75 to 80% chance at this current time since we are moving correctively. And I would give the bearish scenario around a 20 to 30% chance. So it's still quite low on the spectrum. Hopefully that was helpful, ladies and gentlemen. And again, if you guys are interested in joining the XForce Discord membership, the link is in the description below. Please don't hesitate to contact me. And if you're not following me on social media, I do daily updates on there as well, on X at XForceGlobal. So please give me a follow there and say hello. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.